This is the Gutsy Health Podcast with Juanique and Tristin. Hey guys, welcome back to the Gutsy Health Podcast.
Hey everybody.
So we're doing this live on Instagram as well as recording. So for awkward, we really apologize.
Yeah.
But we've had a fun week. We were just at Bear Lake.
Yeah,
really
we were
fun.
at Bear Lake.
We actually went on a vacation. That's weird.
Now I know why they always called it Burr Lake when I was growing up, because that is some cold water compared to Lake Powell. I grew up going to Lake Powell and we were spoiled by the really warm water.
Yeah, but then sunburns through
But then
the
we had
wazoo.
sunburns all the time, and Bear Lake was much more pleasant out of the water. So there you go.
There we go. Okay, a few announcements before we get into our episode. Like, this episode is fan-freaking-tastic because we're going to be talking about liver function and detoxification. It is so underrated. It's sad.
Well,
it's really sad.
Okay, so here's a funny thing about this is that doctors, if you ever talk to a doctor about doing a detox, you know what they'll say?
You don't need that. Your liver does it for you.
You'll get this really terrible like dad joke type thing from them. Well, do you have a liver? Yeah, I have a liver. Then you're already detoxing. You don't need to do anything. Thank you. That's very helpful.
It's like saying, hey, it's really dark in my house. And someone's saying, do you have light bulbs? And you're like, yes. It's like, well, that's all you need. It's like, well, you need electricity to turn those light bulbs on. And so we're going to be talking about the electricity to your liver, or just liver function in general.
Right.
Let's make a few announcements really fast.
Sure.
So for clients, people trying to get into the clinic, for instance, I know we have like a 3-month waiting list.
We're working on it.
We are really working on it. So guys, be patient with us, please.
Yeah.
We're trying to hire people. We're trying to hire them as fast as possible so that you guys don't have to wait. So we will be announcing when we are having more openings for people. So like, I know there's a lot of frustration out there, and I'm so sorry because I know what it's like to not feel good and to not be able to get answers. So we are working on that. So stay tuned. Also, as far as shipping out products and essential oils and supplements and all the wonderful goodies, you guys, thank you. Books. Thank you for being patient. I know we've had a lot of hiccups with packages. And so we are working on that. We are also working on, more sustainable packaging. So we're getting recyclable materials. They are made in the USA. So we're trying to stimulate our own economy. I'm trying to get even the tape to be 100% biodegradable. So thanks, you guys. Thanks for supporting us. Thanks for supporting our small business.
And tolerating our growing pains.
And tolerating the growing pains, because there's a lot.
We're just making this up as we go. We're not
trying to
business people.
We're not. we're like health people. We're not like, oh, there's a shipping issue. What do we do? So anyways, let's get into it, shall we?
Yeah, let's do this.
Let's talk about the liver.
Let's talk about the liver. Let's talk about detoxification, because what this is so much bigger than the liver. People always talk about detoxing, it's for the liver. Kind of, yes, because the liver is the central piece of the detox process.
Right.
But there is so much more that goes into it, and it affects so much more than just our liver.
Right.
It's actually maybe one of the most foundational aspects of health that there
really is. Yeah.
And for that reason, actually, this liver reset program that we're going to be talking about toward the end of this podcast today is going to become a foundational part of everything that we start doing in the clinic.
Right. It really is. I mean, the liver, it not only processes everything that enters your body, it filters through everything that enters your body. It packages hormones, substances, energy, you name it. So if you have an energy issue, you probably have a liver issue. If you have a hormone issue, you probably have a liver issue. If you have like acne issues, skin issues, rashes, it could be liver.
Even immune stuff can be liver at the core. So
absolutely,
there is no escaping the need for a well-functioning liver.
I mean, I would say in our clinic, number one is digestion. Like if you're not digesting, you're not absorbing. If you're not absorbing, you're not healing and repairing. And then second would be liver function. And so if your liver's not working, there's no point in trying to fix sex hormones, if your liver isn't processing and packaging them properly.
Well, in fact, I mean, how often do we have people come in who are on hormones? They're taking exogenous hormones and
they feel
their
awful.
Inflammation is through the roof.
Yeah.
Right. And these hormones, when you actually test their levels, they're not doing anything close to what they're intended to do.
Exactly. In fact, they are converting in the wrong way. And so people are feeling worse, or their symptoms are getting worse. And so it's like, no, you have to look upstream, right? We have to look at gut inflammation. Are you absorbing? And is your liver packaging things properly or processing things properly?
So in the case of hormones specifically, we do not address hormones anymore without addressing the liver first.
No, or the gut.
Well, the gut, yes, that's a whole other kind of episode and thing like that, right? But the liver is an essential piece of hormone management.
It totally is.
So that's going to be something that you can expect to see if you work with us.
Some fun things about the liver: it does over 500 functions in the body. That's a lot. Like if people don't, like, that is a ton. And like I said earlier, like if you eat a fat, a carb. What's the other one? Protein. It's really late at night. Too. Oh my gosh, I know. Like that all has to be packaged. It all has to be synthesized. It all has to be tagged. You take medications, like there are enzymes in the liver that have to process that. So the liver's working all the time.
So maybe let's talk about why the liver is so busy. What is it that we are doing on a day-to-day basis that is taxing the liver so much?
We're breathing. We're alive.
Yes. Very, very true.
I know what you're saying, like environmentally what's happening.
Well, right. Because I think that, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, maybe a liver detox was not a necessary thing to do. Yeah. But things have changed in the last couple of centuries, right? Especially in the last
70 years.
Right.
Yeah.
And so now we're living in this environment where almost every single thing that we do, and we talk about this every week, right? Our modern society seems like it is literally designed to make us sick, not kill us. It's really good at keeping us alive, but it's terrible at making us healthy.
Yeah. So, I mean, from like the water we drink to the food that we eat to the light that we expose ourselves to.
So let's talk about that water, right?
Water.
It's full of heavy metals. It's full of chemicals that they're actually intentionally putting in the water.
Right.
Things like chlorine.
I want to give a great example. Everyone's been talking about this Down to Earth documentary from Zac Efron.
Sexy boy Zac.
People talk more about his looks than the show. But he goes to France. In France, how they clean their water is through what kind of light is it?
UV light.
A UV light and ozone. That's how they purify their water. And it's drinkable all throughout the city. I haven't seen it yet. I'm only on episode 1. But how do we purify our water in this country?
We use a lot of chemicals like chlorine and not just fluoride, fluoramine, right? So it's fluoride mixed with other.
Yeah. And what's weird is like we've completely normalized this. We're like, oh yeah, chlorine. Oh yeah, fluoride. Like that's normal. It's healthy. And it's like, no, these things like destroy thyroid function. Right. Your body has to do something with it, and we're bombarded with it, right? And so from water that we're drinking, I mean, already right there, we have something that taxes our liver. Let's talk about food. One of my favorite things.
Oh, well, all the foods are problematic, right? I mean, if
the pesticides, the herbicides, I mean, the heavy metals in the soil that's now absorbed in the food.
You could probably guess all this stuff because we talk about it constantly. It's the refined foods. It's the added ingredients, the synthetics, but even some healthy foods actually put a workload on your liver.
Yeah.
Right?
Like what?
Fruit.
Oh, yeah. I talk about that all the time.
Fructose, right?
Fructose, yeah.
Now, there's nothing necessarily wrong with fructose. It's a perfectly valid way to get energy. Your body breaks it down into glucose, right? But
no.
It breaks it down into energy.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. It doesn't break down.
But it does it very differently from glucose. And in order to do that,
are byproducts.
It needs to use the liver, right?
It needs to use the liver, and the byproducts are a form of aldehyde. And if any of you know anything about aldehydes, those are, toxic. And then there's uric acid. So when people have like gout, for instance, and what do doctors say? Well, stop eating protein, meat. It's like, no. Stop eating fructose, high fructose corn syrup, or fruit even if you are at that stage where you have tons of inflammation.
Right.
You want to just stop the fructose intake, right? And so let's just say the majority of fruit, and I think this is accurate, the majority of fruit, the sugar in the fruit is half glucose, half fructose, right? So your liver, and it's that little bit of fructose that shouldn't cause any issue. Your body's fine. But you compound that with like a standard American diet, you compound that with like the chemicals you're exposed to. And all of a sudden that 1 to 2 to 4 servings of fruit a day is really taxing on your body. All right. It's like, because again, everything is compounding. And so that's why I don't preach high fruit intake for the majority of people, because it doesn't make people feel good. It can aggravate their inflammation sometimes.
Right. Especially when you add it on top of everything else.
Yeah.
That's where it really becomes problematic.
Control. Exactly.
So on top of the foods that cause issues for us, there's also the drugs, right? I mean, how many people are on some kind of prescription medication? Or
just like ibuprofen.
Right.
Or
even over the counter stuff.
Over the counter stuff. Everything has to be processed by the liver, right? So that in itself, I mean, how many people, what is it that doctors tell you to rotate? It's like rotate ibuprofen with Tylenol, because one is metabolized in the liver and one's metabolized in the kidneys. And so they openly recognize, hey, this will damage your organs. So don't take it quite as frequently. Rotate the damage, right? How messed up is that? Now I understand, because I've had oral surgery before and I would rather be able to sleep without pain. But for some people, like, pain is their reality 24/7, right? And so this is a hit that they have to take on their organs, and that really sucks.
Right. So I don't know. Do we need to talk about any other sources? It's in everything. Oh, a major source of issues that doesn't really get talked about in this space very much. Stress. Oh yeah. Right. Now, I'm not going to say that stress directly affects your liver function. What I am going to say though, is that living a lifestyle that is very heavy in stress is 100% going to affect your toxicity levels. Totally. Which will affect your liver. Right. So we're going to talk about that. Yep, we are. Okay, should we talk about it now? You're the one with the bullet points. Yeah, let's talk about what happens when we get too much of this, because that's really why we're doing this. Almost everybody has too much of this. I feel like we should paint a picture though, because why do we have too much of this? I mean, let's look at children, for instance. Yeah. As early as the age of 1, they're eating some puffed cereal that is drenched in glyphosate, probably pesticides, herbicides, right? Hopefully their livers can be on top of that. But now they're downing soda loaded with high fructose corn syrup. Or apple juice. Highly refined and... Or fruit snacks. Yeah. Yeah. Or you name it, right? Desserts are, ice cream. What child gravitates towards vegetables? I mean, going on vacation, our kids are really well trained, right? And after 4 days, Satori is just like, I don't want to eat vegetables. I want to eat candy. And I'm like, are you kidding me? It took us 3 years to get you to eat veggies and 4 days to turn you into a sugar addict. Completely undo it. It's like she'd never touched a vegetable in her entire life. So not only are these foods really bad for our body, but they're highly addicting too. So when it comes to starting children from young, we're starting them on the bad stuff, the stuff drenched in fructose, the stuff drenched in pesticides, herbicides, glyphosates, you name it. Then they're drinking bad water. I mean, I don't want to ever have people feel shamed for not putting a water filter in their house. But unfortunately, we live in a society where this is something we have to think about. Like, oh my gosh, something as life-giving as water can be toxic for us. And so now children, how many people out there have actually tested their water? No one. It's expensive. It is. It's like $400 bucks. Yeah. I know we did it, right? But
what person has $400 to just throw at like, oh, let me just check my water. You know what I mean? Like, so we do recognize that like money just doesn't grow on trees. Right. And so, you know, and then there's the stress factor too. But okay. So sugar, food, chemicals from young, from like the age of like maybe as early as 6 months old, you know, and then it's just downhill from there.
Well, and let's not forget a really, really common liver toxin that you and I are not as familiar with, but is one of the largest things out there. No, alcohol. Oh,
alcohol. Right. Exactly.
Right? Alcohol directly affects your liver. Right. And, you know, virtually everyone over the age of 21 is consuming it at least occasionally.
I mean, we didn't even talk about like nail varnishes and makeups and hair dyes and like all things that contain phthalates, like any kind of plug-in, right? Any kind of scented candle, any kind of deodorant.
The laundry detergent that then gets on your sheets and your clothes. Like we're bathing in this stuff all day long. And these are all foreign substances that the liver has to participate in the breakdown of. Yeah. So that it doesn't cause tons of toxicity and inflammation and make you really sick.
Right. I do see a question about fluoride treatments at dental offices. I opt out of them for my children, you guys. So that's what I do. And you can just say, hey, clean my kids' teeth, but don't use fluoride. Thanks.
Yeah. We'll talk about that on a different episode. I feel like we did a fluoride episode, but I don't think we did. We just talked about it for an hour. We should have recorded that.
Right. Okay. So I hope we painted you guys a good enough picture of like we're bombarded, water, environment, beauty products, you name it. Like
foods, drugs, both the fun kind and the kind you get from your doctor.
Paints. I mean, I remember painting our house when we first moved into it. Did my hair analysis the next day and my toxins were like through the roof. Yeah. And that was just being exposed to it for 24 hours.
Oh, here's another big one. Even if you are doing everything really, really well, if your digestion isn't working well, this is why digestion is one of the few things that we will address before we get to the liver now. And it's because if your digestion is bad, then it can lead to things like leaky gut syndrome. And that's going to cause problems for your liver.
Totally. Like tons and tons of problems. Because why? The liver will tag things that are foreign, that are not supposed to be there, and try to process them. So we're going to talk about, is this now a good transition to talk about the 3 phases?
So we'll talk about the 3 phases, and then we'll talk about what happens when those 3 phases are not happening properly.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Go ahead, babe.
So
this is your baby.
This is my baby?
Is it? Yeah.
Okay.
You did like a whole lecture on this a few years ago.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years. So, all right. So there's basically 3 phases of detoxification, right? In phase 1, we have what I call, I mean, not I, but like people that I like, they call it bioactivation. And basically what's happening is that your liver is sending out enzymes to tag all of the toxins in your system. And that tag kind of lets your body know that, hey, this is a toxin. We need to do something about this. And that's really all that happens in that phase. However, because of that tag, those toxins become kind of like super toxins. Yeah. They become super reactive, which means that if they, during that time, come into contact with healthy cells, they're going to cause problems in your body. Yeah. So it's really important that this phase be followed up immediately by phase 2. Which is the conjugation phase. Yep. And during this phase, your liver, once again, is adding these, what do we want to call them? Little molecules. Enzymes. They're not just enzymes. It's a whole different range of things, but it's adding them to the tagged toxins so that they can either be water soluble or fat soluble. And that's important because in phase 3, your body is going to flush out all of those water soluble, fat soluble toxins through your peep and your poop.
So phase 1, tag. Phase 2, metabolize. Phase 3, eliminate.
Yeah, basically.
Right.
And so all of those 3 things need to happen. If we only have one happen, there's going to be problems, right? If you are tagging these toxins and you're not conjugating them, then they're going to cause all kinds of damage. In fact, we have an example of that. We have the Hocket at our clinic, right?
Yes.
And the way I like to describe the Hocket is that it is a phase 1 beast when it comes to detox. It will tag the crap out of toxins. Yeah. And that's probably an oversimplification of what's going on, but that's basically how it works.
Yep.
But what happens in some people is that most likely their phase 2 conjugation is not working effectively or efficiently. And the liver can't keep up with that backlog of all those tag toxins.
So, go ahead.
What do?
I don't know. Keep going. So they start herxing. They start getting rashes.
Your body needs to get rid of those, and those toxins are going to find the nearest exit.
And that's like skin.
When we do it with the hot kit, that's through the skin. So they get this rash, and it's not just a rash. It's this bumpy, itchy nightmare of a thing.
It's uncomfortable.
And it'll spread. If things get bad enough, it'll spread to the whole body.
Right.
And it sucks.
It really does. And so I think maybe I'm like cutting too far ahead, but phase 2 is very, very dependent on the substances that you eat. Like it depends on these certain enzymes that you find in food, certain molecules. So going back to doctors' opinions on the liver, right? They're like, well, it should just work, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Let's compare the liver to a business. Let's say you open up a business, but you have no computers, but you have a ton of staff and you have jobs, and you're like, okay, guys, get to work. And they're like, work on what? What are we working on? Well, get the work done. And they're saying, we don't have computers to do the work. We're all sitting here. How are we supposed to do the work without the computers? Well, use paper, write it down on a piece of paper. You haven't given us paper to write it down on. And now we're firing everyone in our business because they're not doing their job. But guess what? We didn't give them the supplies they needed to do the job. See, so this is the disconnect that we have in our medical field, where it's like, oh, there's an endless supply of paper and computers and printers and stuff. There's an endless supply. No. You have to consume it. And the majority of where we consume it is from whole foods, right? It's from berries and apples and things like coffee, even cruciferous vegetables. I mean, you guys see me talk about cruciferous all the time. I say we try to eat cruciferous vegetables at least once a day, right? Ginger, rosemary, pomegranates, Spanish black radish, whole foods. Have you heard me mention Twinkies yet? No. Have you heard me mention soda? No. Have you heard me mention McDonald's? Absolutely not. Right. And yet this is our standard American diet. Right. And so we are not providing the tools needed to run this business. And so this business is shutting down.
What's that saying? Every meal you sit down to eat is an opportunity to make yourself healthier, right, or make yourself sicker.
Isn't that the saying? You have three opportunities a day to either build your body up or break it down.
Sure,
that's breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
That's better than what I said, but that's the idea, right? Either you're eating things that contribute to your body's ability to tag and eliminate toxins, or you're adding in toxins that your body then has to work to tag and eliminate. Right. Basically. Yep. There you go. So that's the 3 phases. I don't know if we need to go into any more detail than that, but one thing that I will kind of reiterate here, phase 3 is super duper important. If you are not pooping at least once a day, you've got a detox problem. Yeah. And that is going to lead to you getting very sick down the line. Very, very sick. So if you're pooping twice a week, bad. If you're pooping once a week, no. And people are always shocked to hear this when they say, oh, I poop totally regularly, like twice a week. Yep. And then we go, what? And they're like, what? Right. Well, and here's the other thing too. What helps us poop? It's fiber. It's soluble and insoluble fiber. Where do you get that from? You get that from chia seeds and flax seeds and hemp and vegetables and celery and cruciferous vegetables again, and apples and bananas and, whole foods, anything that has fiber. Unless you're carnivore, in which case apparently you don't need fiber. That's pretty amazing. The carnivore diet is still so confusing to me, and I can't really. We'll just keep watching it for a year or so and see what happens. Yeah. We'll keep waiting for that data. We'll let somebody else be that guinea pig. Right. But see how the liver is so dependent on whole foods. And when we completely cut that out and we create a food pyramid that's like, processed bread first, it's like, no, we got to put the fruits and the vegetables at the bottom of that pyramid. It's really, really important. All right. Like your liver depends on it. Your colon depends on it. I mean, he's like the liver guy and I'm the digestion guy. Right. And it comes like
when you think of the colonocytes, the cells in the colon, they feed off of short chain fatty acids, right? That's their life force. And what creates short chain fatty acids? It's soluble fiber, right? Like you have to eat fiber in order to have a healthy colon, a colon that thrives, a colon that is not inflamed, a colon that is healthy and vibrant and working for you instead of against you. Plus you're feeding that bacteria down there. This is a liver podcast. I'm sorry guys. And I hijacked it and I turned it into a colon podcast, but fiber is incredible for all the functions, digestion and liver. So please eat it. Please try to train your kids to eat it too.
You know, one more area where fiber and liver intersect,
Where?
hormones.
Oh yeah.
If you have high estrogen, like you're estrogen dominant or you're a male with high estrogen,
Eat fiber.
Fiber will help your body to process that.
Totally. So get some fiber. Okay. Like flush out that estrogen, flush it all out, especially in this world that we live in where everything is estrogen dominant. Like you need fiber to flush. The liver's tagging it, right? The liver's saying, I don't need this. Somebody do something with it. And guess what? If you don't have enough fiber to flush it out, you reabsorb it again.
Yeah. We don't want that. No one wants that.
Nobody wants it. Some people laugh at my joke where I say you merit, like if you're not pooping properly, if you're constipated, like you're marinating in your own poop, right? Your own sludge, like
but it's
get
true.
it out.
Yeah. And it's not just that it's poop, it's that it's toxins, toxins that are going to go in and cause more inflammation, more damage.
Right.
In fact, if things do get bad, if your liver does struggle to keep up, then it is going to cause inflammation throughout your system.
Yep.
Right. And inflammation, some people say it is the root of all disease. Right?
Yeah.
So
totally.
We don't want inflammation. And so we've got to keep things moving. We've got to keep that detoxification system going really smoothly.
Yep. Okay. What's next?
All right. So let's actually talk about what can go wrong. Right? Because there's a whole wide range of areas. I'm pulling up a little chart here. So we have this really cool questionnaire that you can take for free. If you go to mygutsyhealth.com/liver-reset, maybe we should do a short link.
gutsy.ch/liver.
Reset. Let's do reset.
Let's just do liver.
Liver. Fine.
We'll do, because that's easy. Like gutsy.ch/liver.
Right.
We'll create that short link.
So go there, scroll down about halfway down the page, and you will see our toxicity questionnaire embedded on that page. It takes like 5 minutes to fill out, maybe less.
Yeah.
But what's really cool about it is when you're done, you will actually get an email with your own personalized toxicity report. And it will not only tell you your total toxicity level, so you know kind of your general gauge of how things are going, but it will also tell you which individual areas you are being most affected in.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool.
It's really
I put a lot of time into that. I'm proud of it.
So did we even talk about symptoms of sluggish? I mean, we did. Energy, right?
So that's what we're actually going to talk about right now.
I mean,
I'm trying to do two things at once. What?
You know, you have like a sluggish liver when, you don't have proper functioning hormones, or you have brain fog, or you have skin issues, or you have energy issues.
Kind of sounds like an incredibly informative and boring Jeff Foxworthy set.
I don't know who that is.
He's that you might be a redneck if you might need a liver reset. Nah, whatever. Okay. gutsy.ch/liver. That link is now live. So if you want to go there, you can scroll down a little bit and you'll get to our toxicity questionnaire. So you can take that and find out for yourself whether you need to do something about your liver. Okay. And here's the deal. A blood test is not going to tell you. All right. I used to think that, well, we'll know if the liver needs help because we can look at the liver enzymes, which are ALT, AST, GGT, alkaline phosphatase, right? We have this whole panel.
But that's not always accurate.
No, well, so here's the thing. I was finding that maybe 1 in 7 people had elevated enzymes of one kind or another. And everyone else, I was thinking, oh, well, your liver is doing great. There's no issues here.
Yeah.
But here's the problem. I didn't realize this at the time, but your liver enzymes only get elevated when there is already damage going on. It is not a measure of liver function. It's a measure of liver damage.
Right.
So just because your liver isn't damaged doesn't mean your liver is doing what it's supposed to do.
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So if your liver enzymes look totally normal, but all of your inflammation markers like CRP, homocysteine, fibrinogen, ferritin, if they're all super elevated, there's a decent chance there's something going on with your liver.
Right.
If your hormones are a total mess, maybe that's your liver.
Right. I remember Cecilia in one of our podcast episodes, she spoke about the liver being like a road with potholes. Like you can kind of drive around the potholes, the road still works, you know? And so the potholes just are broken. And so the liver kind of makes up for its damaged self. I mean, not even full blown damage, right? Like just dysfunctioning self by overcorrecting in the tissues that are totally fine. Here's another thing that's broken with our medical system is, you know, on a dysfunction scale of 1 to 10, do you only get treated when you're a full-blown 10? You know what I mean? That's kind of like when you are full-blown like liver disease, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Now you're going to do something about it, right? What about the pre-existing 10 to 15 years where you're just feeling like crap and they're like, oh, there's nothing, right? Well, there's inflammatory markers, you know, there's, like you said, hormone markers, like all these things, right?
Yeah. And so basically symptoms are our best gauge of whether this is helpful or not, which is why we created the toxicity questionnaire. And just to give you an idea of the many, many different areas that can be affected by poor liver function, digestion, which by the way, a vicious circle, right? If your digestion's bad, it'll mess up your liver. If your liver's no good, your digestion's going to struggle. Because what does the liver do that has to do with digestion? It produces bile. And bile is an emulsifier for fats, which help us to absorb fatty acids. So things can get caught in a vicious circle really quickly there.
One thing I want to mention to people, I had to write an exam last week actually on non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and its relationship to metabolic syndrome because they're seeing a lot of overlap with that. Now, a lot of people are wondering, what is metabolic syndrome? We need to do an
episode on that too.
It's pre-diabetes, basically. It's you are on a fast track to being type 2 diabetic, right? So what is it that people are consuming a lot when they are becoming diabetic? They're consuming a lot of sugar, a lot of fructose, a lot of refined foods that break down into sugars. And over time, the body becomes resistant to that. It's like, you know what, we're done. We're closing down this shop. No more sugar can enter our cells. And so it creates systemic inflammation. So what they're actually seeing is a correlation with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And this is becoming more and more prevalent over the past 20 to 30 years, whereas before, liver damage was like thought to be only with alcoholics. And so now that's why it's called non-alcoholic.
And it's, as far as I remember, it way outpaces actual alcoholic liver disease.
Which one?
The non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is way more common, right?
Totally. Way more common. And so that's actually another, if you have insulin resistance, if you have metabolic issues, if you have type 2 diabetes, like you need to like fix your liver really fast.
Cholesterol. Everybody thinks of cholesterol as the cardiovascular indicator. And in some ways it can be, but really tells us way more about your liver function. If you've got crazy high LDL cholesterol, very low HDL cholesterol, another hallmark of metabolic syndrome, by the way, that probably points to your liver.
So there you go. Livers are really important, guys. Be careful. Treat them like gold. Okay, what's next?
All right, so digestion and liver. We talked about that a million times. Your ears. Did you know that there are things that can go on with your ears that can indicate that you're toxic? Like a ringing in your ears, for instance. Interesting, right?
Itchy ear.
Yeah. Your emotions. Having, and we've talked about how emotions can cause problems, but they can also be caused by high toxicity. We talked about energy levels. This is maybe the single most common complaint that we get from clients is that their energy is terrible, right? No matter what else is going on, but it starts with the liver. Your eyes, your head, your lungs, your mind, your mouth and throat, your nose, your skin, your heart, your joints, your weight.
Now,
your weight.
What really sucks is a lot of experts are going to be like, oh, they're just throwing every single symptom out there. Isn't it weird how the body just seems so connected? Like everything works in conjunction, right? And I just like, yes, like there are a lot of symptoms. This is the umbrella to a lot of issues.
And this is exactly our point, because we can chase symptoms all day long with you. If we wanted to get really wealthy, we would do all these consults with people and just chase symptoms all day long.
Right.
Because we could recommend 15 supplements for each consult we do.
And we see that a lot where people are just taking a supplement for low estrogen, and they're taking a supplement for low progesterone, and they're taking a supplement for achy joints. And here
There's
we come along and we're like, fix your diet.
There's one for the B vitamin deficiency. And sure, we can do that. And then a couple months later, when you come back, we might have addressed some of those, but we'll have a whole other list of symptoms to chase, and we'll throw 10 more supplements at you.
Right.
We'll make a ton of money, but you're not going to get anywhere because we are not addressing the underlying issues if we do that.
Right.
And that's why we've got to hit the liver. 500 functions, you guys. 500 functions. So it's a pretty low hanging fruit. If we can improve liver function, even 5%, that can give us a million positive benefits.
And you guys hear me say this all the time, but you know, when you have dysfunction in like these other areas, you have to look upstream. You just have to like look at your digestion, look at your liver, and then let's start fine tuning sex hormones. And then let's start fine tuning like serotonin stuff. And then. But if we don't get that foundation, if the root system isn't functioning, if the root system is dying, the tree is dying. You can't like sing the leaves back to life if the roots are suffocating, right? So fix the roots, and the leaves fix themselves. The branches fix themselves. Okay.
Yeah. And so, you know, true to form, we're about halfway in here, and we have successfully made everyone super depressed about their health and
we
future.
don't want to do that.
So we're not going to leave you here. Don't worry. That's what the second half is for.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what you can do.
I guess that was very depressing, huh?
Well, you know, that's how we roll.
No, we need to be like more like, yeah, you can do this. And you can.
You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine.
You're going to be great.
And you're going to be fine because there are things you can do here. Now, here's the most very important thing to remember. All of the stuff you already know, all the stuff we talk about all the time for being healthy contributes to the function and health of your liver. Right. So if you are doing your best to meet all those things, you've reduced your exposure to toxins, you've changed your diet so you're eating real whole foods, you're getting enough sleep, you're working on your stress, right? All of those things are supporting your liver, strengthening your detoxification pathways, and getting you where you want to go.
There's one thing I do want to interject here too, because I see this a lot in the clinic where people come to us for answers, right? And and then we tell them at the consult, like, this is a 3-phase process. Like what we're trying to do is get this language of phase 1 takes about 1 to 2 months. Phase 2 takes about 2 to 3 months. And phase 3 takes like 3+ months. Right. And like when people hear that, they're like, oh, is this going to take me like a year? And I'm like, yes. Like,
they're 40 years old and they've been eating Taco Bell for the last 25 years of their lives.
Or not even that. Like they've had inflammation for 20 years of their life, and they've spent the last 2 years trying to fine tune and figure out their health. That's a lot of the people that we see.
And that is what we see all the time is that people have been doing all this stuff forever, it seems, and they're not getting the progress that they want. They're getting impatient. So yes, part of it is you just need to be more patient. Right.
And then we need to fine tune. Like, and that's what we help them is we help them fine tune instead of just like take everything
and so what we try to do, what we see our jobs as being is looking for ways to make this as painless and efficient as possible for you. That's why we created the membership, to make it a little bit more painless, because it's hard to change your lifestyle, but the program makes it easier. The liver reset is another attempt at making things more efficient for you. And maybe a little bit less painful.
Yeah. I think so.
So let's talk about it. Let's talk about what goes into healing the liver really efficiently. Yeah. Aside from just making sure you're a healthy person, what can you do to speed up that process? Really, there's kind of 3 big parts that go into it. Part number 1 is the obvious one. That's the nutrition piece. Yeah. But it's a very specific form of nutrition. We have recommendations for this specific purpose that are not our typical recommendations, I don't think. Okay. For instance, the first week of this program, we eliminate all fruits. Now, this is not because fruits are bad, all right? We do not want to villainize fruits. No. They have so many amazing things in them. They are wonderful. They help the body in a million positive ways.
Yep.
But when it comes to getting the liver back on its feet, so to speak, they're just not helpful.
Right.
Because they add to that workload, right? We're trying to take care of the bottleneck that is the liver or the detox system. Right. And that's one of the ways that we do that faster. It's only a week though. Don't worry about it.
The next 2 weeks you reintroduce fruit again. So
very little, but yes, you do get to start reintroducing it. But I promise you, we're not going to give you any kind of banana deficiency. No. You're going to be fine.
And just so you guys know, with the this program that we put together, it does come with meal plans. So you don't have to guess. Of course. Like, I actually took a photo of our grocery shopping cart today, and I'm going to post it.
Oh, cool.
And show people like what it looked like that we're going to like, and also like we spent maybe $250 on the food for the entire week for 4 of us.
Right.
And so it's not, I mean, and I don't want to be like, it's not a lot of money, because to a lot of people that is, you know, but
considering what we're doing with it, that's not that much money at all.
Right.
Right.
I think some people like pay like $2,000 for medical insurance every month, and that like kills me inside, because I'm like, oh, that could go to like organic
most
produce.
Families do.
Yeah, I know. Like apparently $1,000 is average, and I'm like, wow, that's a lot of like sprouts that you could be buying, and you know, you could
sprouts. You could buy a lot of bean sprouts.
A lot of bean sprouts.
That's true. All right.
Organic ones.
But there are other dietary guidelines. Primarily, the most important thing is we need to cut out added sugars. We need to cut out really all artificial ingredients.
Yep.
Real foods.
And so that first week too actually cuts out like legumes and beans. It's literally proteins, fats, and vegetables.
We remove grains. We actually remove a lot of fats too, though. We let some in, but we definitely are getting rid of all those seed oils. You know,
everyone should get rid of the seed oils.
Garbage.
Right. Okay.
Okay, that's the food piece. Now, here's what's cool. You do have the meal planners, so you don't have to worry about it. But if you're one of those people that likes to go off-roading and call your own shots, that's cool too, because we've got a food list.
Yeah.
And it has all the approved foods that you can choose from.
Exactly.
Do whatever you want, right?
Yep.
Now, the other thing that we're eliminating during this phase is any kind of chemical substances that would put an extra load on your liver.
Right.
Now, granted, we're not going to tell you to stop taking your medications. That's between you and your doctor. But for example, coffee, right? The most used drug in the world, and it has a lot of great benefits. We're not going to pretend that it's entirely bad for you. But once again,
a lot of coffee is dirty.
A lot of coffee is dirty.
It's a lot of bad chemicals.
It has some hitchhiking toxins that create problems for you.
Yeah.
Plus, once again, it's not necessarily helpful during this part of the program.
Right.
One of the biggest reasons being that caffeine is a contributor to stress. You might like it. It might make you a little bit more productive. Sometimes it makes you feel good. But the fact is that it puts stress on your body.
Yeah.
And stress on your body is counterproductive to what we're trying to accomplish with your liver right now.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. The next aspect of this is the supplements. There are supplements to it. And that is because we want this to be a fast process, right? We want to get there as quickly as possible.
We're trying to take like a 6-month process and turn it into 3 weeks. So it's fast tracking like liver detoxification, basically.
Now, the linchpin of this whole thing is this incredible product called SP Cleanse. And the reason why this product is incredible is that it is entirely food-based, right? There's no synthetic stuff in here. It is just the most, what do we want to call it? Liver nutrient dense foods that you can come across, all packed into this little capsule.
Yeah.
Things like juniper berry powder or broccoli parts.
Red clover.
I'm just reading off the list here. Carrot root. Right. And
is milk thistle in there?
You know what?
Dandelion is like a lot of these like incredible superfoods are all in there.
Beetroot, Oregon grape,
milk thistle. Yeah.
Even cayenne pepper. There's a little bit of cayenne pepper in there.
There's tons of
not
really
enough that it's going to cause you problems, but anyway, super little supplement, and it is just incredible for liver function.
Right.
And we basically just pound that into your system for a whole week.
Like with every meal, right?
Yeah, like 7 of them with every meal.
So you take 7 of these pills 3 times a day. And and it's because we're just clearing out your liver like crazy. So remember that step 1 is tagging the toxins. Step 2 is like metabolizing them with like enzymes and cofactors. Well, this product is the cofactor part, right? It's now, remember that analogy that I had of the business with like no computers, no paper. This is the computers and the paper. Like this is the stuff that's going to metabolize so that we can start dumping it.
For example, curcumin, right? Everyone's heard of curcumin. It's the active ingredient, I guess, in turmeric, right? It is absolutely fantastic for all sorts of things. It brings down inflammation, right? But you get it from turmeric. Another example of that would be pectin, right? Pectin is a binder. It literally helps to grab hold of different toxins so that your body can pull them out of the system.
Right.
Where does it come from? Apples, other fruits, right?
Yep.
Now, granted, we're not going to be doing a whole bunch of those right at the beginning, but it's in the SP cleanse.
Right.
Other examples, astaxanthin, catechins, ellagic acid. I don't know if I'm saying that right. What else is in there? Lycopene, N-acetyl-L-cysteine, NAC. A lot of people take that as a supplement, right? It's like a precursor to glutathione, which is one of the most important antioxidants.
Resveratrol, did you mention that one?
Resveratrol, quercetin. I mean, all these things are so awesome. And most of them found in SP Cleanse.
Right.
Okay. So you can go to your nutrient supplement store, whatever they call it, Sprouts, and you can buy most of these individual nutrients right off the shelf, like astaxanthin or quercetin or resveratrol.
Or just have the SP Cleanse.
Or you can have the one product, or literally just eat a whole bunch of plants.
Right.
And that's what you're going to do to take care of it.
Right.
Now, because of the program, because we're trying to do this really quickly, we're using the SP Cleanse in this case. We want to just pack it in as fast as we can.
Yeah.
Sometimes people do it for 2 weeks. They get 2 bottles of it. But generally speaking, 1 bottle, 1 week, you're just blasting it. And
so it's only the first week?
I think so.
Oh,
it depends. It depends, right? When things are really, really dire, we'll go 2 weeks.
Yeah. I remember we had a member who, this was a while ago, and she was like, I feel really good on the SP Cleanse. Can I please keep taking it? And we're like, take that beast.
Once again, you look at the ingredients. This is not synthetic stuff
really
that is going to put a tax on the system. It's just really, really powerful foods.
This isn't stuff that your body is going to become dependent on. It's not like a hormone or anything. It's an agent. It's a cofactor. These are cofactors that help the liver do its job. And if you're making up for lost time, your liver's going to love this stuff.
Yeah. So that's kind of the secret ingredient, so to speak, but there's more to it because we also need to make sure that you're getting enough protein in, right? Because of the change, I guess, in the diet, sometimes people start to get a little bit protein deprived.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of people that do the program want to lose weight. And if you want to lose weight, one of the best things you do is boost that protein as a total percentage of your calories, right? So we've got that. Plus all of the amazing amino acids that you get from a good protein powder. You already know we like the Paleo Valley bone broth protein. You get all of those awesome amino acids and your liver loves those. So
there you go.
Another one that we use in this program is the super greens, which we also talk about all the time. But why do we love it? Because it's all of the best greens out there, packed in nice and tight. So you get tons of those great nutrients, but no grasses, right? Now there are some grasses actually in the SP Cleanse. So in that sense, maybe it's not perfect, but the super greens have no grasses, which means your digestion will be just fine with it.
Right.
It tastes decent. Some people love it. Some people don't love it.
I love it. I know a lot of people hate it though.
I think it's fine. Whatever.
I think it tastes good.
The important thing is what it does for you. And that is that it provides a ton of incredibly rich nutrients. And that's kind of the second half of the program, right? You do the SP Cleanse. And then whether you do that for a week or 2 weeks, you switch over when you're done and you do the super greens.
With the super greens, if you're having a hard time with it, add lemon. Like I do half a squeeze lemon. Tristan doesn't like it. I love it. And I've had other followers say they love it too. Do half a lemon. It tastes like lemonade. And so there you go.
Actually, I think people have had a harder time figuring out what to do with the protein because it doesn't taste like anything. So you can't just add it to water. That's just the texture is rough.
Right.
So you got to find places to hide it, right? A lot of the meals, you can actually just toss some protein powder in there and you're not going to notice a difference.
So here's an example. You can get rasa, like fake coffee, right? It's got a bunch of herbs and adaptogens in it, and then throw the protein powder in there, the collagen powder, and drink it with your rasa. And do the cacao rasa because it tastes like chocolate and it tastes so good.
So good. Anyway, so the last thing on there, we recommend whole food fiber. Now, it doesn't necessarily matter which fiber you use. It does need to be from real food though. And you do want to make sure that you're using it if necessary. Because remember phase 3 of the detox pathways, getting it out of your body.
Yeah.
If you get constipated, which people tend to do when they're making such a drastic change to their diet, you're going to be in a world of not happy. So the whole food fiber is there to make sure things keep moving.
Yeah.
And you keep your belly nice and happy, and that keeps the rest of you nice and happy.
And it also helps with that third phase of detoxification, where the elimination phase, where these toxins that are packaged have to latch onto fiber.
Exactly.
And so fiber kind of acts as like the holding vesicle, and then it goes into your poop, and then you poop it out.
And the weird thing is that even though you're getting tons of vegetables on this program, people still get constipated.
Yeah.
So,
well, and it's because we're trying to retraining your colon is another conversation for another day, especially people that are dealing with chronic constipation.
Fair enough.
So trying to retrain your colon during a liver cleanse, probably not going to happen. So that's something where you might need to use like magnesium, for instance, to help loosen things up and create like a hydrophilic effect in your stool. So that it comes out. So that just means it brings water into the poop and softens it up.
College words.
That's whatever.
Okay.
You're the one that's the brainy one out of us.
I dropped out of
you
college.
With your fancy almost PhD.
Almost PhD. Look at me. All right. So let's see what's next. Oh yeah. So that basically covers the supplements part of it. Now, generally speaking, we recommend that people go off of most of their supplements, but it depends on which ones you're taking, right? If you're doing herbs, for the most part, that's fine. If you're doing a bunch of synthetic vitamins like Centrum or something like that, something you got at Walmart, stop. Don't take it because those synthetic vitamins, they're contributing to the issue for you, right?
Right.
But a lot of times that's something you want to work with the practitioner on. If you're doing a whole protocol and it's something important, you don't necessarily want to just stop taking it, but it can get complicated trying to figure out what's going to be most beneficial.
Right.
That's what we work with our people on, but you work with your people or schedule an appointment with us.
Right.
Okay. So the last piece, and this is one that I think hardly any programs out there address this when it comes to detoxification, and that is the lifestyle factors.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, how are you taking care of what's in your heart and what's in your mind, right? Because there are all these programs out there that focus on the physiological aspect of it, which is very important. But if you live in an emotionally toxic environment, you are not going to escape all of your health problems.
Right.
Supplements and protocols are not going to get you there on their own.
Right.
You've got to address the lifestyle stress because stress directly creates inflammation in your body.
Yep.
And inflammation is what got us into this mess in the first place.
Right.
Okay. So what do we recommend specifically? Get off of social media.
I was going to say, cut out toxic people from your life.
That too.
Social media is a good one too. So
most of us interact with our toxic people through
social
Facebook
media,
or Instagram, right?
Exactly.
So we're not going to say that Instagram and Facebook are bad. Obviously, Juanique's on Instagram all the time.
Me, so.
But what we are saying is that our consumption of it is usually on the heavy side. And the way it makes us feel is very rarely on the positive side.
Right.
So we basically put ourselves into this situation for several hours every day where we are angry or frustrated or jealous or self-judgmental, whatever it is.
You know what's interesting? As you're talking about this, going back to my massage therapy school days and the whole energy, the liver is considered the anchor organ.
Yeah, right.
So when
in traditional Chinese medicine,
yeah,
right?
in Chinese medicine, like like when you have anger, it's your liver that's hit the hardest, right? And so like how many of us get angry when we're on Facebook or Instagram or
especially
something?
these days with all the polarization going on. It's an election year.
Right.
So literally just by cutting out that one aspect of life or even drastically reducing it, you can do wonders for your body's ability to heal.
Yeah.
It's science.
It's science.
Maybe not the kind that you want, but that's what it is.
Right.
We also recommend things like, I don't know, go outside, right?
Get some vitamin D.
Go for a walk in nature.
Yeah.
All that is going to be extremely beneficial. Or how about like connecting with people in real life? What?
That's really hard today because we're just so forced to stay at home. And, you know, social distance.
We're scared of each other.
Right.
But,
and how toxic has that been on like a massive global level, right?
How much inflammation has been created because of that?
So much.
We never think about it in that term.
No, we don't. So we actually have a podcast episode with Dr. Elir Gagoris where we talk about his book, The 7 Stages of Dealing with a Crisis. What is it called?
Navigating a crisis.
And we talk about the emotional aspect of what we're all experiencing right now and how that's affecting everyone, especially mentally, you know, like the mental health crisis right now that we're all experiencing. It's pretty big. So we need to be really mindful. We are holistic beings. We're not just a liver. We're not just a heart. We're not just a pancreas. Like everything works, beautifully, perfectly within each other. They are all interconnected. And in our advanced, and I'm putting here air quotes, our advanced society, we're like, no, let's separate everything and treat it as separates. No, I mean, that almost seems symbolic when we try to separate ourselves in society. There's dysfunction, there's disease, right? When we try to separate the organ systems, there's dysfunction, there's dis-ease. And so, I mean, like, I'm like, oh, symbols, but really like everything is connected and we can't keep treating ourselves as separate beings and we can't keep treating our body organs and systems as separate working systems. It's not going to work.
No. And you might be tempted. A lot of people are going to be tempted to, buy Instagram.
Sorry. Yeah. Buy Instagram because it timed out. It's timing out.
You're going to be tempted to skip this aspect of it, the lifestyle aspect, because that's hard and you're busy and come on, isn't it enough for you to do the supplements, to do the diet?
Right.
Don't skip it. Honestly, it's okay if you can't be perfect, but even if you can only do 50% of it, it's going to make a big difference for you. It is. So what's that saying? Any organization or any program that doesn't ask everything of you can change nothing for you.
I've never heard that.
Butchered that terribly. Anyway, if you want meaningful and fundamental change in your health, then you need to make meaningful and fundamental changes in every aspect of your life, not just what you eat and put into your body.
Right.
Is that fair enough?
Totally fair. And I think we try to preach that all the time, that it's not a quick fix.
Right.
You know, we can't try to shortcut everything. We have to give it our, put our best foot forward. Is that the saying?
Sure. Yeah.
And I think, and I'll be honest, I've been sharing clinic a lot because I've been thinking about it a lot. I actually just took 3 weeks off to kind of, regroup and be a better parent, but, because my kids never see me. But I've been trying to think like, how can I more effectively get our message across to our clients where it's not so overwhelming? Because when people walk into our clinic and we do consults and they realize all the factors that weighed into their dysfunction and their disease or disease and everything that we have to reverse, it can be really overwhelming. Right. And so, but it's all connected. They're all important. You can't just hyper focus on one area and expect results when you're not nurturing the other areas as well.
Yeah, exactly. So, Once again, if you want to learn more about the actual program that we do, which we call the Liver Reset Program, you can go to gutsy.ch/liver to learn more. But to give you a little bit more information on how it works, it's a 3-week program, 21 days. And the first week is the most stringent week. That's where we're cutting out most of the foods. And we're doing the SP cleanse. And then there's 2 weeks of slightly less stringent nutritional requirements with slightly different supplements. But by the end of the 3 weeks, we have been hearing some really great things about what people are experiencing. And in fact, they're not usually experiencing it way at the end. They start pretty early on in the program. Usually like within the first week, they're noticing positive changes.
Now, the first week can be a little brutal for people because they are exhausted.
Well, there's an emotional withdrawal piece that goes into losing some of your favorite foods.
Right.
Depending on what you were doing before. But even if you were eating pretty healthy before, it can be challenging.
So when I did this 2 years ago, and you and I actually starting it again tomorrow, but when I did this 2 years ago, I remember that first day, I thought I was walking through cement. I was exhausted. I couldn't function. It was like I was already dealing with adrenal fatigue, but this took it to another level.
Yikes.
And then it was almost like a bubble popped. And the next day and like the next 3 weeks, I was just like, it was like done. It was like all my exhaustion was gone and my adrenal fatigue was like healed.
That's awesome.
And then I stopped the program and then I started getting more tired. And we realized I had more, like I had to support my adrenals later down the line. But I think the liver reset set me up so that it could be effective. Right. But I just remember that first day, I was like, oh, it was awful. So, but you will feel really great.
Yeah. You just have to get through that initial kind of slog through the rough part of adjustment. But I mean, people report like headaches, fatigue, digestive issues, bloating, all that sort of stuff. But once you get to the other side of it, like the things that people notice are awesome. More energy is one of the more common things that we hear. Weight loss is another really common thing. In fact, it's pretty rare that people that want to lose weight don't lose at least a little bit of weight. When it does happen, we get really curious about what might be going on to block that. Right. Because you just inherently do lose weight on it for people who have weight to lose. Right. Better sleep, less anxiety and depression.
We should talk about one of our members. Oh my gosh, Carrie, she is unfreaking believable. So so we had our gutsy members beta test the program. And are we still members? Do they still have access to the liver reset program?
Yeah. Well, yeah, as of right now. And
so they were beta testing it for free. Obviously they had to buy the supplements, but Carrie was doing a daily log for the entire group.
Like one of the very first people to jump on it.
Yes. Like she's oh my gosh, I just love this woman because she goes 100 miles per hour with things. Right. And she gives everything like her best effort, and she just started it. She just did it and she logged everything. She gave us a detailed, like what she's feeling emotionally, physically. And it was like, after week 1, let's look, like, will you pull up her comments? You guys, I just need to read this to you because it's kind of unbelievable.
So this was day 12.
So she said, day 12 liver reset. I feel fantastic. I can breathe clearly through my nose, 0 blockage. My arms no longer itch. My arthritis pain in my neck has greatly reduced. I slept really good last night. My mood is more balanced. My ears are unplugged and ringing. My cravings are gone. I no longer constantly think about food and am satisfied with my meals. A little background on why this is so incredible. I've had allergies my entire life: eczema, asthma, tinnitus, and hay fever. It was so severe I was raised on pharmaceuticals to manage it. Shots, inhalers, creams, pills, you name it. Later in life, I dropped all the drugs and began managing it with diet. I have mostly managed my eczema. Hold on, I lost my space here. My eczema and asthma very well with removing dairy, but my nose and eyes constantly run no matter what. And my skin was still so dry. I have arthritis in my neck caused by a few dirt bike crashes in my invincible 20s. It is a source of constant pain and limited mobility, but I learned to live with it. I also was diagnosed with generalized anxiety 20 years ago, which heavily affected my moods. As you can imagine, this year of isolation and unknowns has been pretty rough. All these issues are vastly improved, not gone, but so much better. I can only imagine what another 10 days of this will do. And so she says, feeling physically and mentally well is priceless. Nothing tastes better than feeling good. And I love that. And then she gave us a day 20
basically
update.
At the very end of the program.
At the very end of the program, like it's just the same, let me read one part. She said, the biggest noticeable changes have been my sinus clearing up and my increase in energy, and my cravings are far less. What else did she say? Anyways, guys, it's just been amazing.
Now, that's not to say that everything is perfect for her, right? She actually does go on to list some things that are still not where she wanted them to be.
Right.
And even the things that did improve are not necessarily entirely cleared up.
Right.
But remember, some of these things she's been dealing with since she was a kid.
Right.
And that's, I don't know how old she is. I'm not going to put her age out there, but that's a long time for things to be inflamed and not well.
Well, and Carrie also did our digestion restoration program.
No, she's been working with us for quite a while. She's
and here's
a trooper.
the thing though, is like, she did horribly on it, right? It wasn't like her
body just didn't respond to anything the way that we expected.
Because she has all these histamine issues and these inflammatory issues. And so with her dealing with the inflammation, dealing with the liver function, I bet if we went back to the digestion and been like, okay, let's revisit digestion, she would probably respond a lot better to it. And so a lot of healing is a lot of trial and error. That's right here.
So basically, this is just one example. And this is one of the very first people to go through the current iteration of the program. But we've been doing a version of this for quite a while now. And we've had people get just incredible results with it. So it's one that we have a lot of confidence in. And to be perfectly honest with you, there's no way that people aren't going to get good results from this if they do it all entirely because of the lifestyle changes, right? Even if nothing physiologically changes, if you are cutting out all of those toxic relational issues in your life, you are going to feel so much better.
Right.
And this is, maybe what people need more even than better nutrition is better emotional hygiene, right? Valuing ourselves enough to set up boundaries and take care of our emotions and our minds.
Right.
But I think that's about it. So once again, gutsy.ch/liver to learn more about this. At the very least, go find that questionnaire, take the questionnaire, see where you're at with things.
Exactly.
Because I think you might be a little bit surprised to find out what areas you could stand to improve in.
There you go, guys. So give your liver some love. Make sure you are eating, even if you don't do the program, obviously you don't have to eat whole foods, right? Like drink ginger tea, make sure you're getting 8 servings of vegetables a day, between 2 to 4 servings of fruits,
Reevaluate your media consumption. And I'm not just talking about social media. Our crowd is Instagram a lot of the time. So that's the one we talk about, but
unfollow accounts that make you angry.
Turn off cable news. How about that? Yeah. If you're a big watcher of CNN or Fox News or MSNBC, turn it off.
Exactly.
Not just because they're lying to you half the time, but because they are playing with your emotions. That is literally their secret sauce, is to manipulate you emotionally so that you keep on watching.
Yep.
You are addicted to them like a bad drug.
Totally.
And cutting that off will change so much for you. Really.
It really will. And that's it, I think.
I think that's everything. Go check out the page. We've got a little frequently asked questions section down at the bottom. So if you do have questions that we didn't answer, there's a decent chance it's in there. If there are still questions that we didn't answer, well, let us know and we'll get them added in there.
Let's answer quickly. Can people do it if they're pregnant?
You can, but you probably want to work with a practitioner to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. One of the biggest concerns I have with people doing it is actually the calories. Because one problem we run into is that, first off, there are some water guidelines in there and people get a little bit hung up on them. Don't worry about the water guidelines. Make sure you're drinking water. That matters more than anything, right? But if you're pregnant, that goes double. You do not want to get dehydrated. Same thing for calorie intake. There's a tendency for a lot of people to not eat very many calories on the program. Partially because of the restrictions, partially because they're really hoping to lose weight. If you're pregnant, that's a no-no. Don't do that. You're trying to gain weight.
Right. Is the reset safe for kids?
Okay. So we could have a whole conversation about that. Do kids necessarily need a reset? Right. A lot of the time the answer is no.
What they really need is just to eat more veggies.
Right. They just need to change their diet and their body will figure it out. They've got so many good enzymes in their system. They can make up a lot of ground just by getting rid of the ho-hos.
Now, if they're dealing, like, let's say you have already changed their diet and they're eating great and you've cut out all the processed foods and, they still have issues like skin issues or something, then yeah, maybe. Yeah. And again, I think it's perfectly safe for kids, but you probably want to work with a practitioner to make sure that really is what is most valuable for your child at this time. Okay. I think that's it.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for listening. I hope that we have enlightened you a little bit on some of the functions of the liver and detoxification, why we actually do need to detox, but why most detoxes are not that helpful. Some of them are just downright dangerous. Yeah. And I, even if you don't do the program, an awful lot now about how you can supercharge your detox process.
Exactly.
So there you go.
Thanks for listening, you guys.
We love you. We will talk to you soon.
Bye.